Nobody's replied yet. Can you hear the This is rather worrying. Oh, excellent, excellent. Thank you, Ernie. Thank you for confirming. A little bit of relief. I have no idea how many people are watching either, which is probably a good thing. I've never used StreamYard as a host, so I haven't got a clue. Michael, where are you? I've given you the link to get in. So I've never used StreamYard as a host before. I've been a guest on a stream the other night, and I thought I'd give it a crack tonight. So I'm going to be talking about Supermodules. I'm going to be using these streams. Oh, 7, right? I'm going to be using these streams really to discuss things I don't intend to make videos about, or if something crops up during a video that needs more discussion, I can do it during one of these. I'm not going to review the Supermodules directly. I just wanted to have a chat about what I in general think about them, the whole concept. Are they worth getting compared to the original modules? Were they any good? And I want to know what your experiences were of them. Did you get them? Do you prefer the original modules? Do you prefer the super modules? Whatever. I believe there were 7 modules, 7, that can class as super modules in AD&D and basic D&D. Correct me if I'm wrong. We have GDQ 1 to 7, I 3 to 5, T 1 to 4, A 1 to 4, I 12, B 1 to 9, and S 1 to 4. Any more you think I should mention, then feel free to do so. So, general opinion of the idea of a super module. They were blatant cash grabs. When TSR ran out of things to write about, they just repackaged and rehashed what they'd already done. They filled a few extra bits out. They couldn't be bothered to hire any new artists or any decent artists at this point. And a lot of the art was jiggled about and didn't fit. So overall, my overall impression of them as a whole is somewhat negative. But were they all that bad? I'm going to go through each one, what I think of it, in order, from best to worst, and I'm going to tell you whether I think you should consider getting them or not, or whether I think you should have got them or not, or whether I think you should get the original modules. Hello, Midnight. Oh, okay. Let's have a look at some of these now. Apparently, I can show comments now. I'm in StreamYard, so let's. Yes, there you go, Bailey. Now you said I've sent you a link to join in, and because you've played some of these with me, but you've not appeared yet. It is up on YouTube, and the first message on here. Yes, thank you, Ernie. Thank you, Ernie. So, hello, Ernie. Hello, James. Hello, Mike. Hello, Praxis. Hello, Dave. Hello, Jay. And Midnight Green and Coach Larry. Right, those are the ones who've all decided to say hello so far. Well, first, let's begin with the one I believe was the best of the super modules, and that's because it was the biggest. 6 of the modules that were included in it were very good, and only 1 was bad, and that was GDQ 1 to 7, Queen of the Spiders. I have my copy of it behind there, behind Ernie's face at the moment on the screen. It would be worth something these days. As you might know, this is quite an expensive adventure, apart from the fact that that's the back of it. Sorry, that's sacrilege, I know, but that one. That was a bit of a rough copy. Over here we have those ones, the modules that make it up. So GDQ 1 to 7, 6 absolutely outstanding adventures, all spoiled by Q1 at the end of it. At this point, I was going to ask Mike what he thought of some of these, but he hasn't turned up. Of course, his party was the one that died in G3. There is some filler in the super module. The introduction's all right. I quite like the introduction, the whole idea of that big black dome. But the rest of the filler is crap. The stuff that Gygax wrote in there is lovely and brief. It's nice and inspirational. It's just about as descriptive as it needs to be. It's flexible. But the other bits, there's a bit, the intro section, but there's a section with a big giant called Big Johan, for example. And there's another one where you meet a stone giant family who have been displaced. And to be honest, they fill up about 3 or 4 pages of it. And that's about half the amount that G1 fills up. And those encounters are over in 10 minutes. They're rubbish. So the filler in it is very much filler. But GDQ 1 to 7, even with the filler being crap, and the fact that Q1's rubbish, is still the best of the super modules. But is it worth buying? No. No, it isn't. Because you can get that version of G1 to 3. There, I'm going to use this camera. That version of D1 to 2. And that, or the color cover version of D3. You can ignore Q1, and you can probably get all 3 of those for less than half the price of what you'd have to pay for GDQ 1 to 7 on eBay at the moment. So no, don't buy GDQ 1 to 3. Get those 3 modules and ignore the cash grab. Yeah, Goodman Games should do a remake of that one. I don't own I-12 either, Halakar. I'm sorry. I can't really talk much about that one. And good evening to Just Another Captain. I rattled through that a little more quickly than I expected to. I'm sure I've forgotten to say something that I was intending to. But I've already reviewed the G series. You know I can't do the D series. I'm saying that. If I was going to review Q1, I'd probably give it about 2 out of 10. Moving on to the Desert of Desolation ones. I think this is the second best of the super modules that are available. And there are a couple of reasons why. If you saw my reviews of I3, 4, and 5, the individual modules, I made a big thing about the desert being rubbish. It's smaller than Wales. If you've ever been to Wales, it's not very big. I3 to 5, they moved it to the Forgotten Realms, which is a bad thing because Forgotten Realms is no. But at least they made the desert a decent size for that, and they put a city there, and they gave a better introduction. You know that stupid Hitman introduction where you're thrown into the desert for doing some daft crime. It's a much better introduction. Desert is much better. So that's all fixed. But they didn't fix any of the problems with I5. I5 was an adventure with issues. There was a lot of filler in between all of the adventures, and you could tell that different authors had written all of this because it just doesn't have the same flow. It just doesn't have the same tone. And the artwork is absolutely abysmal. They've just lifted bits out from random modules and slapped it in, and it's just all over the place. At least the cover's quite good. Good maps, good cover. Is it worth getting I3 to 5? Well, it might not be as good as GDQ 1 to 7, but it costs half as much. So the answer to that is maybe, because of the extra stuff it's added and the fact that Pharaoh and Oasis of the White Palm are so damn good. It probably is worth getting. Yeah, it's worth buying that one. I think it's worth, if you can get it for less than 40 quid, which it was last time I saw it on eBay. That's about $50 in your money. Then yeah, I would say Desert of Desolation is a worthy purchase, but it's flawed. Third on my list, T1 to 4, The Temple of Elemental Evil. Can't see where I've put my copy. I've got a copy up there. Sir Godfrey, I believe Sir Godfrey. Say hello to Mike.
John, have you actually just thrown me into a chat?
I have thrown you straight into the stream, Mike. There we go. They can all see you with your crying baby face, and they can all hear you.
Thanks, John. Much appreciated. I don't know how well this is going to work, mostly just because I'm going through my laptop at the moment. Plus, I wasn't expecting this.
For those of you who are watching, Mike is one of the players in my group and has played in a number of these adventures. I'm going to throw you in the deep end, Mike. The Giant series, what did you think?
I wasn't too involved in the first part of it. The ice, I think I came in probably about halfway towards the latter half of the Ice Giants, I believe, because I was absent for a little bit. I can't remember why. I'm not sure.
Right.
I might have been doing night shifts at the time.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I do remember kind of turning in, as per usual, getting thrown in the deep end into the Ice Giants bit, and that was quite entertaining. So for me, obviously, the one that sticks out for me the most is Fire Giants. I'm really glad I refreshed myself on it by watching your video yesterday. That's quite a coincidence.
You were there for the infamous Brazamel charge, though, weren't you?
It was quite entertaining trying to break through the entrance. Like you said, it's not very helpful having a throne room at the beginning. It's quite challenging, we found.
Yes.
And if I recall, we kept trying to use, was it Stone Shape or something like that? Or the one we turn...
you use Transmute Rock to Mud. Yes.
Yeah. We kept trying to do the buggers. And I think they kept trying to do bloody pot shots at our wizard who's trying to cast a spell. And that was probably what made it the hardest bit for us, was the fact that it wasn't a case of we couldn't do it. It's just that they weren't letting us do it. Surprisingly,
they're not going to let you do it because they're intelligent and organised giants.
But it was great, absolutely brilliant. We managed to get through that. That was a challenge, but it wasn't one of those things where it's like clearly a tough challenge, but it wasn't to the point of pure frustration or just, oh god, forget it, it's not worth it kind of thing. You know, the challenge really was there. It's like I suppose a good comparison would be like similar to that challenge feeling that you get from, say, doing Dark Souls or something like that. You know, just doing a game that's there to really test your actual skills rather than just what you've got on a sheet. And yeah, so we managed to get through that, and then we went a bit further into it. And I think, as you recall, it didn't exactly end well.
Now, you didn't play in the Desert of Desolation. You weren't part of the group when we played through the Desert of Desolation ones, and you weren't part of the group when they played through the Village of Homlet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ignore you for a little bit. You can just sit there, but I will come to you when we get to the next one after that, because I know you played in some of the one after that.
Yes, all means.
So, right, I put on my list of Supermodules T1 to 4 in third place. The reason I've put it in third place is I love the Village of Homlet. Village of Homlet is a perfect sandbox starter. As for the rest of it, as those who are familiar with that era will know, it was horribly delayed. Gygax gave his notes to Frank Menzer. You could tell there was a different author. It was all a big mess. It's a absolute behemoth for the for a DM to run, and I've never run it beyond null, and I don't want to. I've got it in third place because it only cost me 15 quid. I managed to find it on eBay because somebody had listed it with a typo in the title and didn't put in the advert whether they got the maps in there or not. So nobody was interested, and I bought it for 15 quid. So it's absolutely, which is absolutely marvelous. Let's just say, if I ever win a bid on eBay, the poor seller is going to feel fleeced because I never bid more than 60 or 7%, 60 or 70% of the market value of something. Is it worth getting? Yeah, if you can get it cheaply, if you can get it for 15 quid like I did. Otherwise, it's one of those where you've got to put a lot of work into it. A lot of work. And it's a massive dungeon crawl, and it's a bit of a grind. And I would just get the Village of Homlet instead, the original module. Right, now we're on to the fourth place one in my list here. Let's have a look, actually. John, I've enjoyed watching reviews. Let's just show this where. Yes, warm glow. I try to be honest with my reviews. That's the point of reviewing, as far as I'm concerned. If I don't like something, I'll say I don't like it. Very quiet. Everyone's very quiet in chat tonight. Last time when I had one of these, everyone was really busy. Right, fourth place. I'm going to put the Slavers campaign. I am going to put the Slavers campaign in fourth place. It's. I'm just going to unmute Mike again. Oh, Mike's muted himself. Right. Okay.
That's all right. I'm on the ball.
You're on the ball.
And I've got my headset on now, so maybe I'll say better.
Yeah, 15 quid is £15, about $20. So that's about how much it cost me. Yes, I know. Goodman have done the T remake. They've done the T series remake, and I haven't read that. I've heard good things about it. Hope they've made it flow a bit better. But one thing to remember with the T series, one reason why it is worth getting is the Village of Homlet was, of course, released, but T2, 3, and 4 were never released. So the only way to get hold of those is either through the Goodman Games re-release or through the Supermodule, which I suppose does make it worth buying. Right, the Slavers campaign. Okay, Mike played in the Slavers campaign. He actually joined our group when they started A2. Now, those who know A2, bear this in mind. Mike had never played AD&D before, and he went straight into playing a 5th level character in A2. A2 is one of the hardest adventures in the history of AD&D.
I mean, in my defense, I couldn't really go, oh, God, that was hard, was it? Because for me, I was just like, oh, this is confusing. I just went along with the flow.
You did go along with the flow.
Mike, just roll this. Oh, yeah, sure, okay.
But you were there when they eventually all got their asses kicked, weren't you? And all
yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So the second AD&D adventure you played would have been in the Dungeons of the Slave Lords, which again is a baptism of fire because you're all stripped and left with nothing but loincloths. Remember that one?
I certainly do. As I recall, I'm not quite good in a loincloth.
It's not an image I want to. Mike's into his wrestling, by the way, so he likes looking at men in loincloths. But what I think of the A series is it is possibly the most disjointed series of them all. 5 different authors to make the 4 different modules. Then you've got the super module with filler bit written by somebody else. They didn't fix any of the problems with A2 and A3, of course they wouldn't, but at least they increased the expected level range for the characters for the super module, because it was ridiculously low for the original series. The tournament adventures were far too hard. I don't know what you remember of A2, Mike. That was one where you were trying to break into that stockade, wasn't it?
Yeah. Was that the one that had? I believe that was the one that had the Medusa, wasn't it? Or there was like a ghost within the actual force that the enemies
Yes,
were a bit concerned about going down the corridors for. So we use that as an excuse to fucking hide.
yes,
Nice.
and yeah, and this isn't going to be monetized, so yes, you can swear if you want to.
Yeah, sorry. I did that. I just went, I'm just going to stay silent and just see if anyone ruining your
Right.
career before it even begins, John.
Yeah. Cheers, Mike. Cheers, Mike.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I do keep showing Ernie's comments here, but this one, that is an extremely brave man to attempt that. Extremely brave, because it's a 40-page AD&D module, which is just absolutely packed with stuff on every single page, tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of opponents, and yeah, that's gonna be hard work. You're a brave man, Ernie, very brave indeed. Midnight Green, yeah, the Slavers campaign is. Let me just show this one. I'm getting used to this now. The Slavers campaign. It is an interesting campaign. It's a disjointed campaign. It's a very linear campaign. The standards of writing go up and down like a yo-yo. A1, the opening module, is fantastic. A4 is really, really good, and in between, it's there's great bits to A2, but it's imperfect. And A3 is well, okay. So what I mean in general, what I know they were your first two modules, but what did you think of A2 and A4 in general?
Right. I mean, obviously, it is hard for me to judge, and I'm
Yeah,
so sorry that it was me
that's
that
all
you
right.
got and not Brian or somebody who'd actually be able to talk a lot more in depth.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry. Honestly, I really enjoyed them in terms of, obviously, I was thrown into the deep end. Obviously, it
you
was,
were.
I
Yeah,
say,
you were.
slavers and whatnot. But weirdly, despite the fact, obviously, I was thrown in the deep end, I could have mid campaign. I don't know how far into it that segment was. Honestly, I'm not going to go like, oh, I did great it, but I felt it was easy enough for me to kind of adapt myself into the game, and I never
Yeah,
felt like, obviously, for somebody who's new to just RPGs in general. I've done like one or two, for a bit of background, I've done like one or two little things at uni, but I'd literally like little one shots, and I never really had a party to be able to actually get myself properly invested into D&D. So for me, this was completely new, and I was thrown straight in there, and
and
I
one
felt
thing.
like I could still contribute. Yeah,
Yeah,
obviously, I had everyone kind of telling me this, but I felt like I could contribute. I felt like I could understand it as well.
and that is without you understanding the rules of the game.
Oh yeah, completely.
Because
Yeah, no. Even to this
I've never,
day, you
yeah.
know me, I'm terrible with just understanding the bloody Thacker.
And I did say, I've said in my video on 5th edition, I intentionally didn't teach the whole group how to play first
Yeah,
edition,
yeah,
because I wanted to deal with the mechanics and just let
yeah,
you lot do your thing in terms of whatever you wanted to do, and I would deal with the mechanics.
yeah, and
So
absolutely. And not to stroke that ego, but honestly, you did an absolutely brilliant job at just being able to kind of essentially just you kind of told us, oh, roll this, oh, roll that, and you just allowed us to just be guided through it.
yes,
You allowed us to kind of make our own decisions, and you just guided us through what the process, the calculations of what we'd need to do for that. And
yeah,
it just worked because he made sure that we were still focused solely on trying to push the narrative rather than being thinking, oh, what about this or what about this calculation? Well, no, you just
yeah,
allowed us to kind of focus completely on what we needed to.
yes, which is the adventure itself.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Right, so okay, we'll move on to the next super module, and 5th on my list of 7 is I-12, Egg of the Phoenix. I'm putting that in 5th place. I've never owned it, I've never read it, I've never played it. I would buy it because I don't own any of the stuff in it. It's a bit of an amalgamation of the RPGA modules, adapted, repackaged with a bit of extra stuff added to it, and I'm interested in getting it. I've heard mixed things about it, but the reason it's in 5th place above 2 more adventures is what you'll find out. Now. 6th place goes to B1 to 9, the basic series. 9 whole adventures in one beefy book. What to say about this one? Well, by B1, by B2, by B4, maybe by B5 and B6. Ignore all the rest of them. Don't get B1 to 9 because they hacked the adventures to bits, put them in some disjointed, crappy campaign order that just doesn't work, and it pretend it never ever existed. No, B3 was not awesome. As I should show this one here. B3 was the first adventure module I ever played. I should have fuzzy nostalgia for that one, and I think it's rubbish. I'm sorry. I think it's absolute garbage. Yeah. Dave Mills says, yeah, B1 to 9, not whole adventures. No, they weren't. They weren't. It's a blatant cash grab product. Absolute rubbish. But it still beats one other product on the list. And that is, and I know there's someone who watches my videos who has recently bought a print-on-demand version of this, S1 to 4. If anyone's going to feel remotely offended by the fact that I've put this one at the bottom. Okay. S1 to 4. It collected together Tomb of Horrors, White Plume Mountain, Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, and Lost Caverns of Sojkanth. And it ripped out most of the stuff that made those good and just repackaged it and charged you a load for it. And I would say buy S1, buy S2, buy S4. Don't buy S3 because it's science fiction that doesn't belong in AD&D. And it completely ignore S1 to 4. Now, Mike again. Mike, you still there?
Hi, Captain.
Hello. Were you? I can't remember whether were you in the campaign when you played White Plume Mountain? Do you remember that one with Wave, Whelm, and Black Razor? 3 weapons. You were sent to get them by Bigby. That's the bit I did.
I believe I definitely not the person to ask about this one mostly because I think I was there for literally maybe 1 or 2 sessions of that.
Right. Okay,
Again, I think I was a bit all over the place at that point.
You were knights at that point, but you were definitely there for the Lost Caverns of Sojkanth, though, weren't you?
That definitely rings a bell.
That's the one where Jordan used the reverse gravity on about 100 hobgoblins.
That definitely rings a bell.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. I mean, you've never played Tomb of Horrors. You didn't join the group when we played Tomb of Horrors.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't part of the group at that point, so I haven't had the luck of attempting that one yet.
No. Do you remember anything about Lost Caverns of Sojkanth? It was a big module. Do you remember anything about playing it?
Unfortunately, I don't. Like I said, it's literally just bits and bobs, like significant moments. That's what I mean. I'm so sorry, John. I would love to be a great contribution. Like I said, all I remember is like You've joined me on the stream because
you were the one who was confident enough to say yes, I'll do it. Brian's gone to a gig, Jordan's a wimp, and John I was just planning on like contributing to the comments every now and again. Next thing I know, I sign up onto stream and I'm being flunked into a live chat, John. Yes, yeah. Well, I did put the link out there, and other people could have joined if they wanted to. But
I know. I don't know what I was thinking. But you've got me now, and I will support you in any way I'm able to, John.
Yes. It does. I mean, just another captain is backing up B3. I've not run it for my group. Okay,
John. Do you think like because he was saying his comment was that it makes a really good one shot. I mean, what's your opinion of like kind of splitting up these super modules, just using them as individual modules as one shots? Or is that just? I suppose that's kind of defeating the purpose of them being super modules in the first place. But...
Yes, that's the thing. That's why I think B1 to 9 was so bad, is because they didn't fit together at all in any cohesive structure. And a lot of modules were designed to be one shots. I don't know if you all know that it has been made a thing that apparently Temple of Elemental Evil is meant to be played to run into the slavers, to run into the Queen of the Spiders, and that's all been completely retconned afterwards. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. The levels you go into each one be completely wrong. B1 to 9, I think the levels would be completely wrong. The whole point of getting a campaign flowing is making sure everything progresses from one to the other, and some of these just don't work. I'm absolutely rambling. I'm rambling all over the place.
No, that's absolutely fine, John. That's the whole point of the stream. I mean, obviously, in the case of the B super module, then, like we said, so things worked great individually. Like I said, you've got to pretend I'm an idiot because you know I am.
Yeah, I know you're an idiot. Yeah.
Like, was the whole point of the super module? I know it was the actual reason was just cash grab, but were the intentions there to make it? Did they kind of cut content to try and make it flow? As a super module,
No.
Here's a module, here's a module, here's a module.
Basically, yes. Basically,
so,
yes.
So they never actually made any attempt to just tweak each module to kind of flow.
It was possibly the laziest example of TSR repackaging I think I've ever seen, apart from the S1 to 4 one, which they were all completely cut down. And I've got S1 to 4 at the bottom simply because most of the source material was so good and deserved so much better. By the way, you all know I hate S3, but look, I do have it. I do own it. There we go. And that cost me less than £10 on eBay. So Midnight Green, that's about $15. I got it through being patient. And again, looking for misprints, misprinted titles, and places where the sellers had left out information and not badged it right. Because of course, if they list it as a D&D module and get it all right, it'll go for 30 odd quid nowadays. But if you're patient, if you can find the ones where the sellers have screwed up, then you can fleece them.
I can definitely confirm he will wait. He has got the patience of a very patient individual. Like, he will literally just hold out, and he will find something at dafty bargains, absolute dafty bargains. He'll set himself a price and go, I refuse to go above that.
I bought the entire Marvel Superheroes back catalogue for £23.
Yes, you did. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Whereas would you like to tell everyone how much you spent on Horror on the Orient Express?
Okay, before I tell, in my defense, it is completely sealed up, and at that time there wasn't Custom hadn't released a new kind of digital copy of it, making it completely use. But at the time,
no.
Sure. I paid about I'm going to say about $2.25 with delivery. I'm going to say roughly about $2.25, $2.30.
That's not £2.25. That's £225.
Yes. God, can you imagine that? Look, it's still sealed. I'm just saying, John, it's still sealed.
Yeah. It's something nice to have.
It is very.
So Midnight Green, if you want to get hold of the proper version of S3, it is possible to do it with a lot of patience through eBay, and okay, who's next up? Let's get Ernie back. Ernie. Now, in Britain, there was a Christmas #1 hit, Ernie the Fastest Milkman. Ernie.
A bit before my time, I'm afraid. I know it.
Tomb of Horrors is a blast to run, but it's brutal. Yes, it certainly is. Yes. Yeah. Well, 2 to 3 times over the past 5 years. Yeah, so have I. Always a good time. Yep. Provided the players understand it's going to be rough. It's the first adventure I ran the rest of the people in Mike's group through in AD&D. It was their learning experience for AD&D. Tomb of Horrors. They all died.
It is definitely something. Like, obviously, I haven't played it, and I've intentionally avoided as much information as I can about it.
Because you know you'll be
For the
forced into it one
opportunity.
day.
Yeah, for the opportunity to play one day. I definitely would love to, John. Really, really
Yeah.
would love to. It's one of those things where it's like I don't know, the Shawshank Redemption. It's one of those things. It's like, well, I haven't seen it, but I feel like I should. I feel obliged to. Do you know what I mean?
I don't watch many films, and I've seen Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, exactly. Do
4
you know what I mean?
times.
That's how I feel. Tomb of Horrors is definitely the Shawshank of the RPG world.
Midnight Green, 2 copies of S4 already. That's not a problem. S4 is great. S4 is great, even though Mike didn't remember much of it. Can't imagine B4 as part of a compilation, though. That adventure is huge. Yeah. They that compilation trimmed a lot of things down, so everything was cut down. And I've got the Goodman Games version where it's all beefed up again and beefed up quite well. That's the best way of playing it, in my opinion. Yep, Ernie, you're right. S3 is not for everyone, especially people like me who don't like sci-fi. I've said it. I haven't watched a edition of Star Trek since the first series, which I used to watch drunk when I got home from the pub at university.
Was that first series of original or
original Star Trek? Yeah, original Star Trek. Yeah, I haven't watched any of the other ones. Haven't watched any Doctor Who since Tom Baker, and I've only watched the first 4 Star Wars films. There we go. There we go. I am a heathen. I have another game system I'm going to run S3 with. Well, try running S3 with Paranoia. That might be amusing. It could be one way of doing it.
You can never go wrong with Paranoia.
Well, you can.
Or rather, you can. You always will.
Yes. The last time I ran Paranoia for Mike and John, I ran a Japanese-themed adventure while dressed in my judo suit.
It was an experience. Experience I feel I can't talk too much about.
Yes.
But there were certainly some very apt names.
Yeah. Yes.
Definitely some apt names.
I wouldn't say that adventure is particularly politically correct. Very much of its time, but it was funny. I hate Tomb of Horrors as a player and a DM. You're supposed to hate it as a player. Yeah. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be pain. That's the intention of it. It's like an end of year exam at school. You're supposed to hate it. It's a test of you. Sorry, last Doctor Who I watched was Tom Baker, going back to about 1980. I don't do sci-fi at all.
So I'm a big Doctor Who fan, to be fair.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I haven't watched. I'll say I'm a big Doctor Who fan. I've watched it for
Mike meet John, John meet Mike.
Oh, John. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan. I was a big fan of classic Doctor Who before this. Don't worry, I'm not going to deviate too much, John. But yeah, I know I was a big classic. Obviously, Tom Baker, love Sylvester McCoy, Patrick Troughton. When I finally started to see more Patrick Troughton, I really started to love that proper kind of old school horror style, like the sci-fi horror. It had a very B movie vibe to it, and I loved it. Absolutely love the B movie vibe.
I've zoned out already, by the way.
Oh no, John! There you go. Back to your stuff.
No, I've never played Starfrontier. I've never played Starfrontier. The only sci-fi RPG I'll play is Paranoia, and that's because of the comedy elements. I love the dark comedy in Paranoia.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Very, very funny.
John, did you take part in the Traveller turned Alien RPG that we did?
No, Antonio didn't invite me for that. I think he did on purpose.
Oh yeah, that's probably first. It was quite entertaining, though, I must say.
So we were talking about super modules, weren't we? And I actually forgot to say whether which ones were worth it of the remaining ones. So just as a summary, GDQ 1 to 7, worth it? No. Get the get those. Don't get Q1. That'll save you money. I3 to 5, worth it? Maybe, because it does fix a few of the problems, but on the whole, it's not as good as GDQ 1 to 7. T1 to 4, worth it if you can get it cheaply, because it's not otherwise available. It's not particularly good. A1 to 4, worth it if you have none of the originals. It's worth getting the Slaver super module because it's still at a sensible price. I've seen it go for about 30 quid in recent months, and it would cost you a lot more than that to get the originals, even though it didn't fix any of the problems. So A1 to 4, yeah, it's worth getting the super module. I12, yeah, because it's not available anywhere else. If you want to get the original stuff, it's about 200 quid a module, and I12 costs you about 20 quid. B1 to 9, worth it? No. S1 to 4, worth it? No. There we go. There. That's the summary. That's the summary. Anyway, let's
really shot through that.
I shot through it. Yeah.
So let's not talk more about Doctor Who.
No, let's not go back and talk about Doctor Who. Let's say if anyone wants to go into the, there should be a link for the my Discord in the text for this. If you want to join in and just talk nonsense with us for a while, you're more than welcome. The link is in my Discord. I love, here we go. Yes, just another captain has got the right idea here. I don't love sci-fi. I love fantasy. But I do agree the two should never mix. Never, ever. Yes. Hello, Irishman. A series super module. Yeah, I mean, I guess you talk about the A1 to 4 because you've missed a lot of the stream. I'll go back on what I said. I think A1 was fantastic, A4 was fantastic, A2 was patchy, A3 was a turd, and the super module didn't fix any of the problems. But yeah, it's worth getting because it's one of the more sensibly priced ones. All right, this is a sort of question I wanted. If you could, what would you make into a super module and why? The U series. Simple answer. The U series. The Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh is the best low-level module out there. Danger at Dunwater was an interesting follow-up, but flawed. Then it needed a lot of extra padding to get the party up to the suitable levels for the final enemy, U3. Thus, it would have been perfect for a super module because it'd been like, here you go. There's a perfect spot in this campaign to fill out with more padding. It needed it. It needed the super module treatment, but it was the one that didn't get it, which was really, really annoying. Barrier Peaks is an abomination. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I annoy a lot of old grogs by saying that, but yes, it is. How many super modules did TRS make? It should be TSR. I'm going to pick you up on that. I've got a list of 7 down here. A list of 7. I believe that's the full list. You can't really class every compilation as a super module. Is that a super module? No, it's just a sensible compilation. Most people think of GDQ 1 to 7, I3 to 5, T1 to 4, and A1 to 4 as the super modules, but I'd put I12, B1 to 9, and S1 to 4 in that list. Yes, mate, the usage. B1 to 9 disappointing. Yeah. You'll wish. Yeah. Mike, you'll wish you hadn't spent your hard saved cash on that one. DK. I've been meaning to run the Basic Fantasy RPG Giants module. Should I get the original? I haven't read the Basic Fantasy RPG version of anything. Which one should you get? That one. Because it's a classic. It's genius. And you get those guys at the back with the best names in the history of gaming. U series, good choice. Yes, of course. Yes, of course, it's a good choice. Have I checked out Ghosts of Saltmarsh by Wizards? Look. The last Wizards of the Coast product I bought was Salathar's Guide to Everything, and I'm probably not going to buy anything more by them. This stream isn't monetized, so I'm going to freely admit that I downloaded a dodgy PDF of Ghosts of Saltmarsh without intending to buy it. I had a quick flick through. I'm really glad that they converted it. It looks like a fairly true conversion. They made a few changes I don't agree with, but I'm glad it's out there, and the reviews have been excellent for it. So it was worth doing, and it does appear that they've padded it out quite nicely. So I haven't checked it out directly. I haven't run it. Fantasy shouldn't have laser rifles or psionics. There, I said it. Bite me. I'm not going to bite you, but yeah. I don't mind a bit of psionics, but I don't mind mind flayers having psionics, but characters no. Okay, this is an interesting question. Some modules are better than others. At the point, and the point of the super module was to be a campaign. What would you mix and mash together to make the ultimate super module? Right. I mentioned before that I ran a campaign with a lot of classic modules all linked together along the way. Mike played in quite a lot of it, and I would quite enjoy something along the lines of what I did. The Village of Homlet. Put Lareth with a letter or a scrap of paper mentioning something about a strange black glove, which would guide the party over to UK2 and UK3, and throw in UK4 as well. T1, UK2, UK4, UK3 in that order. I think it's a fantastic. That works. That works nicely. But you could also mesh together I1 with C1. Dwellers of the Forbidden City with Hidden Shrine of Tomorrowchan. That makes a great combination as well. Put them with the Isle of Dread as well, and yeah, you've got something good. Scrolling back up at the moment. Scrolling back up. What super modules, if any, would you buy the individual modules over the compilations? Simple answer there. Already shown it a few times on the stream. Those ones. And I wouldn't buy S1 to 4 either. I would buy those ones. Prefer them by themselves. I do mostly prefer them by themselves. Original is always better as a first choice. Then at least you have the foundational knowledge of how they were made. Yeah. And not enough of the super modules added enough to make it ever worth buying again. I suppose it depends on your budget. If you can get the original B and X sets that come with Keep on the Borderlands and the Isle of Dread, I'd go for that one every time. But if not, the Rules Cyclopedia. That's one of the best RPG books ever published. The Rules Cyclopedia. It's very, very good. BECME is effectively the Rules Cyclopedia, but in separate sets. but it got a bit wonky towards the end. Did they remake U1? Yes, they did inside Ghost of Saltmarsh, Wizards of the Coast. Did remade U1 in there, made a few changes. The original was better, because of course it is, but TSR never remade it. It had started a bit before that, but yeah. There's a bit of... if you read through the GDQ, it doesn't really flesh it out, but Eclavdra, who is the one who's driving the giants, isn't a devotee of Lolth. So that was part of the problem with the Q module ending it, because Lolth should never have been the ultimate baddie in that series. It should have been whoever Eclavdra was worshipping. I still think it's something that someone lines of Thera's done. Is that, did they pull them from Dungeon Magazine to fill the gaps? Here was me thinking they'd actually made something decent from their own imagination, but they plagiarized those as well. Good to hear it. Yeah, it does. It does. It does. You've taught me something, DK. I didn't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it. I haven't bought many OSR products. I've got the originals, so I don't feel I need them. Wash your mouth out with soap. The DL series should be consigned to the bin. It's not as good. I mean, I had the Redbox basic set, and Larry Elmore's art in that was absolutely sublime. So, yeah. I tend to jump on a few Kickstarters, but the problem is, being in Britain, the postage across the Atlantic tends to make things not really worthwhile. But yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Old School Essentials. Quite a few people have chatted about that. Someone's just sent me a message in Discord. Oh, where was I? No. People have joined the Discord channel, but no one's actually clicked on the stream invite link by the looks of things. Where are we? Where are we? Best old school D&D boss, in my opinion. I like Lareth in the Village of Hamlet. I do wish he'd been given a bit more personality. I think the vampire at the end of S4 is superb. But I'm going to be predictable here. and I'm going to say the original Strad von Zarevich. Have a look at my Ravenloft review to see why I think that. Nice to see you, James. Nice to see you. Jungle Supermodule will be on my wish list. Yeah. You could certainly make a very big and beefy campaign out of all of those, though. Yeah, N1 you would have to change the tone of it a little because it's a swamp rather than a jungle. But yeah, I could Snake Cult. Yeah, Snake Cult would work well on the Isle of Dread, but you would have to change the tone of Orlane to fit in with the locals. But yeah, I quite like that. DK, the DL series is Dragonlance. It did have nice art and it had nice maps. They are redoing Dragonlance, and look, Dragonlance was completely done to death. I get that people are very, very nostalgic for it, but good setting, terrible modules. He is. Remember, in AD&D, if you were hit by a vampire, you were drained 2 experience levels. Imagine how much tougher he becomes now. Kelsall, otherwise known as Dan, is one of my gaming group, and the player is on about Jordan is notorious. The Jordan going to sleep face towards the end of an evening, and yeah, we were playing the Lost City. They'd gone down to the city, and he'd just started a brand new first level cleric, and he was half asleep, and he heard there was a fight starting. Everyone else ran away, and he just says, I run in and I attack it. And he was a first level cleric, and they were attacking a black pudding. That first level cleric didn't last very long. X1 certainly could be a campaign all by itself. Here's one. Right. Running an island campaign starting with Saltmarsh, moving to Tamoachan, the Isle of Dread, then the Forbidden City, and Lost City in the Caldera. Yeah, why not? Why not? How would you get them from Saltmarsh to Tamoachan, though? Because I think Tamoachan is best put under the Forbidden City, and you put the Forbidden City on the Isle of Dread. And yeah, it could work. A lot of second edition modules passed me by. I saw how things were changing towards the end of first edition, beginning of second edition, and I stopped buying modules. I never bothered with them. I did stop playing around 92, 93. I didn't come back to the hobby for about 20 years. So I've still got to collect all these things. I have got to try and read them and see if there was any merit in them. But well, I've got somebody else waiting in my room, in my stream here. Saxious. Hopefully he's got something to say.
Hello. Yeah, no, I might have a thing or two to say.
You might have a thing or two to say.
Well, yeah, no. Well, it's mainly because I come from 2E as the background, and I just saw your comment about 2E Volus Guide, because that was, right. I know that was a very big thing for second edition, but second edition did have the whole suffering of they had almost too much. In terms of like, especially for like the Forgotten Realms, you would have Volus Guide to the North, Baldur's Gate, and all of these other things. So it really just boiled down to what did you want in your campaigns. Because it was just, I mean, great for imagination and kickstarting ideas, but it's just, do you need it? That's really down to
yeah. They tried to make a rule book for everything, didn't they? They tried to make tried to cover absolutely everything, and in the end, it stripped out the imagination part. It stripped out the personalization. I think that one thing I liked about Greyhawk is that it was a framework initially, and everyone's Greyhawk would be completely different. And I get the feeling that Forgotten Realms, they wanted to homogenize it too much.
Oh, definitely. But also with, I mean, it's down to what was happening, historically at the time, with Greyhawk being considered, the prime world with first edition because it was Gary's baby. It was what he made, and then as they didn't want to branch it further out, they would then put out the competition for people to write into Dragon Magazine, and Ed Greenwood presented the Forgotten Realms that he was then working on back in like late 60s, early 70s. And the rest is just history from how it just sort of got in there.
Bang's Naughty Bits has just updated the comment, though.
Thanks.
It was referring to the 3 Volos modules. Did you play those at all?
I did not have a chance for those. I did get my hands on some of the Volus guides, not the modules.
Not the modules, right? Okay, fair enough. So, were they any good? I am talking to Bang's Naughty Bits here. I'm wondering, were they any good? I mean, tell me in chat if they're any good. Should I get them? Should I get them? Let me know. Right, let's go back up. Let's go back up the things here. You said earlier, good God, fighting a black pudding at level 1. It was a random encounter in the Lost City, and the rest of the group were level 4.
You gotta love it. But that is very much like the old school games. It's like, here you are. Here's a black pudding. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But the thing is, the black pudding moves at 20 foot per round. All the characters moved a lot faster, so they could just run away from it.
Exactly.
Whereas Jordan was half asleep, and he just goes, I hit it with my mace. Okay, so you're rolling up a new character then, Jord. And this is why, though. Dan has said why. This one there. He heard pudding and got excited. Fully understandable.
Yeah, that I can understand.
So let's move. I do notice when I play my videos back, you can. I fidget a lot, and unfortunately, my microphone is sat on my desk, so I have got to learn how to avoid walloping the desk and fidgeting. I might have to get one of them boom things to put the microphone on, because I'm sorry. I'm just a fidget. I know it makes noise. On Aaron's stream the other night, I listened back to a bit, and you can hear me putting my beer bottle down every so often. All right. We are coming towards the ends of all the comments. They've all dried up. Does that mean people have all departed? Can anyone see how many people are left on the stream?
Quickly check. About 19 watching right now.
Oh, I can see at the top. Yeah, I can see. So we do still have people. So if anyone else got anything else to say. Yeah. The K5K has summed up. I think I pretty much said that right at the start, that they were a blatant cash grab. That was it. Blatant cash grab. Cheap art, rehashed, didn't fit. Yeah. Slap a 20 quid price tag on something. People lap it up. Okay. Randall Morn's series was a nice arc. Volo's was irritating. It's a different Volo than from the guide. I didn't know that.
Huh.
I didn't know that. I do need to learn more about late second edition. But you say second edition was originally your game, was it?
Well, yeah, for me, yeah.
When did you start playing?
I'm only 29, so I started playing
right. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
So
I'm old
I'm
old enough to be your dad.
No, I started with second edition, and well, I've just sort of always loved it. So did that in the early 2000s, and just sort of continued on with it.
Mike's about the same age as you, aren't you, Mike?
Oh, I'm slightly older, 30,
Not much.
going on 31. So
No,
don't worry,
not
John. Don't worry, John. You're still not the dad.
I'm still the dad. Yes, I am the dad. Yes. Dave, yes, I will be. I will be doing a video about my house rules. I had thought about discussing them tonight, but if I was going to do it on a stream, I would do it with more of my current 5th edition group available, so they could all abuse me together about how much they hate them.
That's fair. That's fair.
I will do something about that in the very, very near future.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of interest on your previous video, I must say, John.
Yeah. DM James reckons that AD&D 2nd edition and everything after was a blatant cash grab.
I know everyone has got very strong opinions about second edition, and I know a lot of it boils down to, well, to me at least, it was a cleanup of the rules from first edition. A lot of the house rules that was brought on, and then there was all of the internal politics of TSR at the same time. So
Lorraine Williams wanted to put a stamp on it, didn't she? Really? Yeah.
Gary was well on his way out at that point.
He'd gone. He'd been gone 4 years. He went in about 85, didn't he? I think.
Oh God, yeah, that's true. But go on.
I mean, I don't. I mean, the first edition of rules did need cleaning up. I defy anybody to explain or to sit. 4 people read those initiative rules in the first edition AD&D, the Dungeon Master's Guide, sit around a table and agree on how to run initiative without arguing at any point. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not
going to happen. It's not. So it did need tidying up.
It did. I mean, there's a reason why people joke that first edition and Gygaxian is its own language. And that people, sit down and almost study it, to understand what it was that he meant, because it's not normal English, and English is my second language. Reading it, it was like, it opened up my vocabulary, yes, but I also needed a dictionary.
I was 12 or 13 reading it. It certainly opened up my vocabulary, especially the prostitute table. But yeah, it needed tidying up, but the problem with the second edition books is the soul was lost from a lot of them, because that high Gygaxian style of writing was very flowery, and it made it, even though it was, when it meandered, it was enjoyable to read. There was obvious passion in it. So where are we? Do you think the GDQ super module might be Goodman's next one?
It'd be a big one.
It would be massive. Sure. It would be
huge.
Yeah, it would be. But it should be either that or the U series.
Definitely.
They won't be able to do it because Ghosts of Saltmarsh, won't they? And the other problem with them doing the GDQ one is that there's already been conversions of the Giants modules in the 5th edition.
So they'd almost have to do, one after the other and then combine them all together in one mega module at that point. But I don't know. I mean, most of it is just, at least in my opinion, it's just down to, the Giant series. That was the big one. And then it sort of built on after that.
All right, keeping Yeah, I mean, there is a point here. Yeah, I suppose second edition and later versions have kept the game alive, but DM James does have a point, certainly with more recent editions where they've not been backwards compatible. It's been like, oh, if at least with basic AD&D and second edition, things were generally backwards compatible. Third, fourth, and fifth haven't been.
No.
So each time it's been like, here's a new system, buy all the books again. That's where the blatant cash grabs are.
Oh, definitely. I mean, and then just look at 3.5. Just look at the load that you had for the systems, and then there was like, you didn't just fix it. It was just, oh, you want fighters to be better? Well, here's a new book. Go and get that. You want druids to be fixed? Well, here's a new book. Go and get that. It was building and building, and we saw it just get out of hand at that point.
Thankfully, I wasn't in the hobby then. Otherwise, I'd have been skinned. Every edition, I think second edition is close enough to at least to the spirit of the original game, and is compatible with the original game. And I think second edition is fine. I'll admit the version of AD&D I run has got bits of second and bits of basic in it. I don't run AD&D by the book. I consider it to be AD&D. I do tweak it. For those who are wondering about some of my house rules for 5th edition, spellcasters have a limit on cantrips of proficiency bonus plus level. So it wasn't 4 cantrips on level 1 here, Dan. It was 3. But that actually forced low-level spellcasters to get their weapons out again. Yes. Osric is fabulous. If you want to run AD&D nowadays, that's the book you use. Bolt on any of the bits you want. Osric is really good. Apparently, James was your mate on...
Yes. No, we're still good friends. I got along very well.
What did he do to get banned?
I can't remember.
Would it get me banned from YouTube?
No, I think he spoke his mind on Twitter, which
I've seen some of his videos, and yes, he will speak his mind. Yes,
no,
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
You have to respect people who speak their mind. I deeply respect people who speak their mind, and it's great.
Isn't that the point of doing this sort of thing? Just to give your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, you can make some fantastic friends this way. Actually speaking candidly with one another without, it devolving down.
I'd like to think, this comment from Ernie here, I'd like to think I surprise mine with some of the stuff she overhears while I'm online. I hope she didn't overhear me on Discord the other night when I was telling somebody how I would role play the vampire in Horror on the Orient Express, complete with descriptions. Mike, do you remember those?
I certainly can. They were somewhat unnerving. In fact, actually, I will give it to you, John. You play him absolutely amazing. You play the villain incredibly. I generally felt unnerved. I knew it was you, and I could disassociate yourself, but man, no, it had me on edge the whole time.
I'm not sure if that's really a compliment, though, seeing as I was playing him as a sadistic necrophile.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly thrusted the imagination somewhat into dark waters. But no, I mean, you did.
Yes, pull him off, Mike, it certainly did. Yes.
Please, that rust smudging is in a way I don't want. No, honestly, you do certainly have a great rapport with villains, John. Make that up, make that what you will, John.
Yeah, well, I end up being the one who has to play them most of the time because I'm 90% of the time I'm the DM. Yeah, so let's dive down the comments again. Hi, Gygaxian may be enjoyable to read, but it's a pain to explain to your players if nobody knows what the heck a beer or a tumkiolite. Yeah, yes. How many of us really knew what Dwimmer meant?
No, but again, you gotta get open the what's called the dictionary.
Of course,
yeah. It's just sit there like, okay, so this is what it is. Okay, what does that mean, really? Like,
but it opens up the minds of a certainly this young teenage boy when he first read some of those tables.
Oh God, yeah.
This DK, you can treat it as a reprint of first edition, but they changed quite a few of some key rules regarding surprise reactions and initiative being the big ones. So it actually makes the game play a little bit differently. First edition, with its group initiative, plays much more like a team game than second edition. A magic user at some point should always have to slip their tool from their sheath.
Oh God, yeah, that's really it's about to go down.
We're going back to Horror on the Orient Express there. And yes, just to show I do agree with James on some things. Yeah. Osric is fantastic. And that happens quite frequently.
Oh
yeah. I think yes, yeah. I think DK was there last night when I was doing the creepy vampire impressions, and I don't know if my wife has ever heard those, but she may have heard them now. She's in the room, but I think we've just about come to the end of the messages.
Yeah.
And 16 people have managed to survive. Now, gone down. It's just as soon as I say that, it drops down to 15. Someone went dead. But I do want to thank Mike, and I don't know your real name, Saxius, so I'll just do Saxius.
Yeah, my real name's Oscar, so it's easy enough.
Oscar, yeah, and Mike is Sir Godfrey. Mike has named himself here Sir Godfrey after his character in second edition, Sir Godfrey Allmight, a paladin of very little brain. Isn't that right, Mike?
Pure of heart, empty of head.
and he's an absolute joy to run a game for, especially when I engineered the situation where he became elected mayor. And I said to Mike, "Can you stand up and give your first mayoral speech to your town?" And he had to roleplay. Yeah, you had to roleplay a character with an intelligence of about 5, giving a speech as the new mayor to a town, which was marvelous.
Yeah, as what's become somewhat of a pattern, John does like to just kind of throw me in a deep end and go.
That's how you learn how to swim.
I doggy paddled. I just about doggy paddled.
It was fun. But Godfrey is a lot of fun, and especially after I put a girlfriend for him into the game as well.
He certainly did, even if he's completely oblivious to us.
Yeah, completely oblivious. Yeah, she might as well be throwing all her clothes off and saying, "Godfrey, jump in bed with me," and he still wouldn't realise. He still would not.
It just thinks she's cold.
That just sounds like real life then.
Yeah. But she's not very clever either, and she's not a looker either. Anyway, I'm going to call this stream a day now. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for just joining in for the chatter. I hope I haven't rambled too much. and I'm glad people find my nonsensical rambling amusing. And somebody always joins as I'm about to go. Somebody always asks a question as I'm trying to go. Right, Gary. I've got 2 DMs who've got Warhammer Fantasy RPG. They've extolled its virtues to me repeatedly, and I've said yes, I would love to play it, and we've never got around to it. So I'll have to have words with them. But yeah, I think I've heard a lot about it. I think it's going to be a great game to play. But I'm waiting for those DMs to pull their books out and just put their books where their mouth is. I like this comment. I have to admit, I like this comment.
That's true.
It sums you up, John.
Do I grouch in good humour though? I grouch with a smile on my face, and people can often tell when I'm being serious. Isn't that the whole point of it? Yeah, Gary. Yes, yeah. You do need to apologise for living in the States. Everyone who lives in the States needs to apologise. I have no idea what time it is. It's probably about 6:30, 6:20. So yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. And here is one of those DMs. Yes, John, run some Warhammer. Or Antonio, if you watch this as well, you've got it as well. You've told me about it before. And isn't this the case? Deliver bad news with a smile. You're all going to die. I'm sorry, my dear, you have cancer.
That's such a British way of saying it.
Anyway, I'm going to shoot now. Sorry to those who've just turned up, because we have been on now for 1 hour and 22 minutes, and I need a drink, and my bladder is full, and it is time to go. So good night.
No.
Cheers all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See ya.
All right,
Bye.
bye.
Bye.